Welcome everybody to the inaugural Between the Lines video roundtable discussion. I'm George Pappas, joined by John Reaves and Eli Marger. And we're going to try to get these to you as frequently as possible. And there's plenty more of where this witty sports discussion is going to be coming from all season long for all 4 seasons of major sports and college, etc. So, gentlemen, welcome to the discussion here. Let's start off with some college hoops talk. Obviously, a big day for college hoops on the that battleship with UNC and Michigan State there.
Pretty cool.
It was just incredible. What a great way to start the season. I mean, with the president there honoring the veterans. Basketball game went about as planned. I mean, UNC just is talented out of the country. So, I mean, went pretty much as planned, but the setting was pretty incredible if you guys saw the game.
I don't think I've ever seen a cooler setting for a basketball game than on an aircraft carrier. I mean, you can't really top that. And perfect choice of UNC to start it off, the future national champions.
Well, along that thread, then Eli, obviously you're picking on the ACC again, the premier conference, if you will, in college basketball. With a lot of championships, obviously split between the Tar Heels and that other team from Duke, Blue Devils. So I guess I'll present the question: who is your early? Would the North Carolina Tar Heels be your early season favorite at the national championship?
You know, they are because of experience. I mean, you know, they go to the Final Four last year, and I just think that the fact that they're returning all 5 starters, you look at a team like Kentucky where they're basically going to be starting 4 freshmen and a sophomore. You know, you look at the maturity factor, how many of them are going to take stupid fouls. I just like North Carolina's overall team composition better.
John, I feel like you're going to disagree.
You have to believe at this point. I mean, you have to believe at this point that UNC is probably the favorite by sheer fact, as Eli said, of their returning starters and just the pure talent. But I mean, the beautiful thing about college basketball is that honestly, 100%, you can say every single team in America is a contender at this point. And literally every single team, whether they lost their first game or won their first game or are yet to play. That's the beauty of basketball with Butler going to back-to-back national championships. But I mean, yeah, you look at UNC. Watching that game, Tyler Zeller's 7 feet tall. He runs the floor like he's a 6-foot guard. I mean, that's tough to stop for anybody. But I'm excited to see what else happens this year. I mean, my Dukies are always hanging around. Saw them struggle with Belmont, but Belmont's a pretty good mid-major.
Belmont's a fun team to watch. And Austin Rivers is going to be really, really good.
Yeah, he can score with the best of them. He can score with the best of them. So I'm excited. I think the Gators will do well, too. I mean, they got all the backcourt talent in the world. Yeah. Just they need to get Mr. Patrick Young going. So.
Oh, no, I agree.
Definitely. Future Dwight Howard.
Yeah, it's
well,
the.
I mean.
Well, I was going to say, like, now that you mentioned Dwight Howard and Patrick Young. Patrick Young, obviously, you're talking about a kid that has the same type of body composition, is a Dwight Howard light, if you will, maybe a preview of that out of the SEC. Would be a great thing, and obviously, as to be expected, the Gators just absolutely running all over Jackson State the other day, you know, at the O'Connell Center for that matter. But, you know, I'll present this second question. This is going to wrap up college basketball. But who do you think would be the other team in that conversation then to be a contender to be cutting down nets at the end of March?
Go ahead, John. I got to think about this one.
Well, I mean, if you're just if I had to guess, you know, you got to put Ohio State in that talk because of the return of Sullinger, the return of Aaron Craft at point guard. You know, that's the beauty of college basketball this year is that we can talk about teams like UNC and Ohio State that brought back their big studs. I prefer not to talk about teams like Kentucky that just seem to churn out one and dones. I think that's unfortunate for the realm of college basketball and college sports. So I guess I'd have to say put Ohio State in that mix. And by no bias at all, I have to put Duke in that mix. They do have experience. They do have the front court and back court talent, and they've got that guy who's going for his record-breaking 903rd win on Tuesday, Coach K at the helm.
Square Garden. That's a hell of a place to get a record-breaking win. I'm right with you with Ohio State. Vanderbilt, I know they lost yesterday, I guess, but I have a lot of faith in Vanderbilt. I mean, they're a very complete team. John Jenkins is one of the best guards in college basketball.
Yeah, he
and
is.
They can shoot the ball. They can rebound. They're just a very solid team. But, like John said, when the nets are cut down at the end, you really never know what two teams are going to be doing it. What two teams are going to be playing, what one team's going to be doing it. So it's going to be a fun season to watch. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, that's right. It's, obviously a lot of basketball left to be played. Hardly any basketball been played. So transitioning over out of college hoops onto the college gridiron, that is football. Obviously a big Saturday full of a little bit of everything, some emotions out of Happy Valley. That's certainly, we could talk on end about that, and I kind of want to leave it at that. How about Oregon and Stanford? A little bit of a shake-up there near the top, and then of course LSU. So
the main thing for me here was, with his win at Stanford, I was with one of my friends who's an Alabama fan yesterday, and she was making the argument that Alabama's obviously number 3 right now, and if Oklahoma State were to lose to Oklahoma, that Alabama would be the one-loss team. But here's the trouble with that. Then let's say Oklahoma State loses to Oklahoma, then you got a one-loss Oklahoma team going to their conference championship and a one-loss Oregon team going to their conference championship. How do you put a one-loss Alabama team in the national championship as a team who didn't even win their own conference? You just couldn't make that argument over an Oregon team that lost to the same LSU Tigers.
At this point, you have to believe Oregon is right back in the thick of the national title hunt. That just was such an impressive performance, not only offensively, but the defensive line was just dominant, just flat out dominant against what many people consider to be one of the best offensive lines in the country. I don't think a rematch is good for college football. Alabama's a great team, but they had their shot to beat LSU, and they didn't do it. So, LSU, I'm just going to go out on a limb and guess they're going to win out. And, I think it's going to be, if Oklahoma State wins, they'll be in it. I think otherwise you got to put Oregon in it.
Well, I agree. I will pick up right there. Obviously you look at that team coached by Les Miles out of Baton Rouge, and the first time since 2008 that you have a unanimous first selection for a football team at the top of the polls, and rightly so. They're doing everything it seems to be right. Just kind of rolling over most teams. Obviously the head-to-head between Alabama and LSU. That was a very low-scoring, fair, close football game, but a well-played football game on both sides. It just kind of goes to show you the strength of those programs. And sure, Alabama, if you put them in any other conference where they're not going to run into LSU, that's just the nature of the Southeastern Conference. But having seen, say, Oregon yesterday, the way they could just get in there and rough up a guy like Andrew Luck, a front runner in the whole Heisman race and whatnot. You absolutely have to throw them into that discussion.
And don't be shocked.
Really
Everyone's talking about who will play LSU in the national championship. Don't be shocked if at the end of this season Arkansas gives LSU a run for their money. And in the SEC championship, I was at that Georgia game yesterday, and they just gave it a butt whooping to Auburn. Don't be shocked if Arkansas and Georgia both give LSU a real run for their money. It's no guarantee in the SEC that LSU is going to win out by any means.
You know what? And now that you brought Georgia into that discussion too, and it couldn't be any better timing for Mark Richt, because honestly, coming into this season, if Mark Richt doesn't have the type of year that Georgia is having, that guy is going to be on his way out of a job. So you have to tip your hat to him and to what his team's been able to put together. I really like Aaron Murray as a quarterback. Got to see him play a lot in high school and that kind of thing. Obviously, he's had his trials and tribulations making the transition to the college game, but obviously it's well documented what he could do as a quarterback, and I think he's slowly getting it together. And the better the offense plays around him, that's only going to translate into more success for that Georgia football team. So.
Yeah, they're a good team. Who's going to win the Heisman?
I mean, Andrew Luck's campaign took quite a hit on the national stage yesterday. With as much as he's been talked about, I mean, that was tough. That Oregon team just outclassed and outmanned his Stanford team yesterday. But, you know, with one more big, maybe two big games on the horizon for him, nobody's talking about Brandon Whedon at Oklahoma State. That guy's putting up ridiculous numbers. He threw 5 touchdowns in the first half a couple weeks ago. I mean, just ridiculous numbers. And he could very well take his team to the national championship. They go undefeated. Hey, he's my Heisman by no stretch.
Me too. Absolutely. I think Whedon goes largely unnoticed. I'm not sure why, but he's had an incredible year. I think you got to put Case Keenum up there too. I mean, I know Houston. I mean, they haven't played anyone. That's their problem. You know, I wish they had played a game against a defense that doesn't look like a bunch of guys with Swiss cheese. But I mean, you can't argue with the numbers, really.
Did that bother you guys the other night when he was still on the field throwing for his 9th touchdown in a absolute blowout of a game? Felt that was a little inappropriate.
Well,
you know, when you're Houston, you need all the style points you can get.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. It is one of those things where, you know, you're not going to be playing in these great marquee matchups against powerhouse programs and that kind of thing. I know you don't want to be playing the game with poor taste out there and just running up the score on the team, but I mean, in that same vein, I think was Toledo the other day that won a game 66-62 or something like that. You're just having these shootouts.
Yeah.
So
Western Michigan, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
those crazy midweek MAC football games there. In the 2 weeks in a row, they've had 260. Both teams in the 60s. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, just kind of transitioning away from the college game to the pro game, we have about 4 minutes left in the talk here. So obviously, Sunday, what a Sunday it was.
Yes, everybody here knows. Everybody knows. I'm going to start with, I was under high stress for the first time watching the Niners play the Giants. For those of you who don't know, I'm a big Niners fan. Don't ask me why. It's a long story. But, hey, Niners moved to 8-1. Frank Gore, I think he had maybe 7 or 8 carries for less than 10 yards. Alex Smith had to throw the ball today 30 times. He did that quite well. Niners defense made plays when they had to. But in watching live, one thing I did take away from this game is that Eli Manning has taken his game to the next level. I mean, he makes a lot of great throws, a lot of great decisions. His 2 picks in this game weren't really his fault. But I think Eli can definitely be considered an elite quarterback at this point.
I agree. San Francisco is just so impressive. I mean, you just gotta love like how that team is turned around. In my opinion, their defense. I mean, you got Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, and then Carlos Rogers. I think is one of the most underrated cornerbacks in the league. I mean, they've got a heck of a team out there.
So would you say
they're going to give Green Bay a run for their money?
Would you say then Jim Harbaugh, Coach of the Year? Too early to say that?
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's his to lose, and I mean, it's the Niners' division to lose at 8-1. And again, like Eli said, the talk now becomes, you know, who's going to challenge the Packers in the NFC? And the best way I heard it put by Colin Cowherd on ESPN was, I mean, if there's 2 teams that are built to go beat the Packers in Lambeau Field in the cold, it'd be the Niners, who run the ball, play tough defense, and the Giants, who, you know, both those teams can give the Packers a run for their money right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we can all agree that the Lions fairy tale is over.
Oh, man. Ooh, what a train wreck today.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Boy, oh, boy.
Well, guys, we have...
Absolutely.
I mean...
we have 45 seconds left. Let's get one storyline to watch this week. Eli, go for it.
Who are the Cubs going to hire as manager? My vote is not Terry Francona. It's Mike Maddox from the Rangers.
Johnny?
College basketball Tuesday. Gators versus Ohio State, Duke, Michigan State, Kansas, Kentucky. If you've been longing for basketball, Tuesday is the night for you.
Well, obviously, without the pro game, pro hoops to be watched, the attention certainly is going to be on the college one. So, guys, great first talk. I'm going to round it out here. Keep it locked to Between the Lines for all the latest and us sounding off on sports. It's been fun.